Welcome back to One Small Fire at a Time. And look, we made it to chapter 2. So somehow last time we did an entire chapter in one episode. I'm not sure how that happened. Ooh, that's a nice background. The sign at the gate read Eclipse, much to Aiden Wolf's relief. Oh, I forgot not to hit space because that's just hide everything, apparently. He had expected a gloomy, run-down building in the middle of nowhere, but what was supposedly a dwelling for social outcasts turned out to be a rather nice-looking establishment in a part of Overture that was much greener than most places in the city. Oh, it was a little far from the business district. In fact, Aiden guessed it was closer to the outskirts of the city, where factories had been cropping up lately, but he thought it wouldn't be bad to consider moving to this area when he retired in 20 years or so. I don't know why I had so much trouble reading that. Hopefully. I think it's because it was one huge block of text, so then every time it updated I wasn't sure where it started again. He gazed at the air above the gate and sensed faint amounts of magical energy. It was incredibly weak, much weaker than the aura from elemental magic that most people could sense. Oh, is he talking about the magic machines or something? Somehow he hated how overly sensitive he'd become to these things, but that was what years and years of magic combat had done to his senses, and without them, he wouldn't have survived all those battles he'd been a part of. "What's wrong, Commander?" asked the man beside him. "Nothing," Aiden asked as he leveled his gaze at Professor Poe. "Even a professor from the Conservatoire d'Ouverture, what? Widely regarded as the most prestigious school of magical science, failed to sense it. Also, I realized I didn't give them weird voices. There's too many people. Is it a magic barrier?" another man asked. Aiden was surprised that the young Lord Godwin could sense the invisible barrier. It was nothing more than raw mana given semi-physical form, but the man added, "Probably cast by that magic machine," pointing at a metal box mounted on the wall next to the gate. "Yep, we learned that in the last episode." "That is correct, my lord," Aiden replied, realizing that it wasn't the barrier that Lord Godwin had noticed, but the machine that cast it. That was to be expected, however, from a man who made a living dealing in magic machines. Yeah, maybe he made the one that's there. He heard footsteps. From the other side of the gate came a woman. She opened the gate and let the three men in. Is it Ina? I guess she's just a nurse, though. Yeah, it's someone else. "Good day, gentlemen," the lady said with a well-practiced curtsy. So this isn't like Janice telling the story anymore, right? This is just some weird narrator person, maybe? "My name is Oriel Sherwood. My husband and I run this madhouse." She turned to Lord Godwin. "You must be Lord Godwin. We have been expecting you, my lord." What is the lord doing here? Also, he doesn't look that lordish. I guess maybe he's not really a lord, that's just his name. He nodded. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Sherwood. I am indeed Joff Godwin, founder of Magical Mechanical." He always spoke in an almost toneless voice that carried neither friendliness nor hostility, but instead gave off an air of nobility that one would expect from one of his standing. That's strange that the Lord is also like he works with machines or whatever. That's strange. "I heard good things about your company, still young, but already one of the most promising magic machine manufacturers in Overture. It would be a great honor to work with you and Magical Mechanical, my lord." So you're not already working with them? Where did you get your machines from then? "I do hope we can work together, ma'am." The lord added, "I hope you don't mind that I brought some acquaintances of mine." He gestured to Professor Poe. "This is Professor how do you say that name? Johann? Something like that. Poe from the Conservatoire d'Ouverture." Yeah, I'm gonna call him Johann. "Nice to meet you, ma'am," said Professor Poe, smiling. "Nice to meet you too, Professor," Oriel Sherwood said. Like, why is this part written like a novel and not like the other part was? And this is Commander Aiden Wolf. He is a member of the Overture Police's Dragoon Unit, Lord Godwin continued, gesturing to Aiden. Okay, nice to meet you, ma'am. She seems really surprised. Nice to meet you, Commander. The woman couldn't conceal her surprise at the mention of the police's Special Forces unit. So many important guests today. Please come in. Oriole Sherwood led the men into one of the houses, the one nearest the gate, and showed them to a living room. And this is the room we were in before, I think. She offered the guests seats, which they accepted. Lord Godwin scanned the empty room. Is Mr. Sherwood away? We could always come back at a more convenient time. Oh, don't worry, my lord. My husband rarely ever leaves Eclipse. He's currently at the other ward. I hope you don't mind waiting here while I get him. Aiden had heard that Eclipse had separate buildings for children and adults. I see. That's all right, ma'am. Oriole Sherwood bowed to the lord and left. You're just leaving them here? The men sat waiting, passing time by making small talk about the madhouse. This looks just like a normal house, Professor Poe remarked. I don't know, does a normal house have a living room that looks like a lobby? Aiden had the same opinion, also like two stairs that are exactly, they're both going up, but they're exactly right next to each other. It wasn't at all like what he had imagined when he first heard about the madhouse. Lord Godwin was mostly just agreeing with whatever Aiden and the professor said. That's weird for a lord. The young lord didn't speak much otherwise. A few minutes passed. Oriole Sherwood hadn't returned. A few more moments passed in silence. The three men had run out of things to say about the surprisingly unremarkable madhouse. There weren't even that many inmates in the building, though they all assumed that was because most of the children were outside playing. Aiden glanced at his two companions. Professor Poe was tapping his right foot and scanning the room, clearly bored. Lord Godwin, on the other hand, was still sitting quietly, his face as blank as a sheet of paper. Aiden could never tell what he was thinking. I'm going to take a walk outside, Professor Poe exclaimed. Well, you didn't put an exclamation mark while rising from his seat. So I said that in the most boring way ever. Would anybody care to join me? That's more what it's like, I guess. Look at how, like, suspiciously evil he looks for some reason. Yes, I'll go with you, Aiden answered, sounding more enthusiastic than he had intended. Yeah, it must be pretty boring there. What about you, my lord? I'll wait here, Lord Godwin replied. Professor Poe shrugged before leaving with Aiden through the front door. Yeah, I guess somebody has to wait there, or when that woman comes back, she's gonna be like, where is everyone? Moments later, another door opened. Ooh. Oh, it's Ina. Ina Polidori entered the living room with the vial in her hand. She had gone to the infirmary with Candela to get her a mana potion. Mana? Yeah, but the girl had disappeared when she wasn't looking, presumably because Candela had forgotten why she was following Ina and wandered off. Wait, so is Ina just now coming back from when she was supposed to, or like when Janice was here before and stuff? I guess these two things were happening at the same time, but... where are we? Oh, Ina hoped that Candela had gone back to Janice, who was sitting quietly by herself. Oh, no, okay. Her face stern, her hair bleached blonde and cut short, and her tall masculine figure now clad in... Wait, that isn't Janice. Oh, she thought... Oh my god. How could you, like, think that that was Janice? Where had Janice gone? She had told her not to go anywhere, but clearly she had disobeyed that request. That little troublemaker. When she found that girl, she would... More importantly, who was this person who had taken Janice's place? Ina had never seen this man before. Had Mr. Sherwood forgotten to tell her that a new alienist was coming? Yeah, why is he coming? Oh wait, probably just for the business meeting about the magic machines, yeah. However, their eyes had locked multiple times since she entered the room, yet he hadn't uttered a word. Ina had never met an alienist who stayed silent when being stared at, except for those who had been hopelessly defeated by Condela's total lack of interest in them. But this person hadn't done therapy with Condela yet, so Ina knew this person was definitely not an alienist. Maybe he was the parent of an inmate, Ina thought. But if he was, where was his child? Did he lose his child like Ina had lost Condela on the way to the infirmary? Why don't you just ask him? It didn't look like he was looking for anyone, though. So Ina concluded that this person wasn't the parent of an inmate, either. That left only one possibility. He must be a new inmate. The poor guy must have come to the children's ward by mistake, thinking it was the adult ward. Why don't you just ask him what's going on? Ina perfectly understood how somebody new to the facility could confuse the two buildings. Excuse me, Ina said as politely as possible. This is actually the children's ward. What you're looking for is the other building. The man rose from his seat, but continued to stare at her. Had he not heard her? She prepared to repeat herself when the man replied, "No, I'm not looking for the adult ward." He wasn't looking for the adult ward? Ina was now even more confused. She had previously come to the conclusion that this person was a new inmate, but if he wasn't looking for the adult ward, then what could he have been searching for? If he was a new inmate, and he had indeed been looking for the children's ward. And then Ina finally understood. This man, no, this boy, was a new child inmate. What? Ina, no, you're very confused. How old was he, though? Maybe he was 15 or 16, almost an adult, but still a minor. Like, he does not look like he's 15 or 16. But Ina didn't want to make any more mistakes. The mind of a lunatic was often fragile. She couldn't risk hurting this boy's feelings. Judging from the boy's reluctance to speak, he might be scared of strangers. If that was the case, he was either much younger than he looked, or he suffered from some kind of lunacy that left him with the mental state of a young boy. Such cases weren't unheard of. Ina, why do you keep becoming transparent so I could see the background through you? Ina walked over to the boy and put on a broad smile. "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie," she said in her kindest voice, the kind she always used whenever little Johnny cried after wetting his bed. "Big sis misunderstood." Are you crazy? It was weird to use that tone on such a mature-looking child, but Ina wasn't going to discriminate. "My name is Ina Polidori, but feel free to call me sis." "What is your name, sweetheart?" He's gonna think you're like flirting with him or something. The boy opened his mouth, his eyes wide, but didn't manage to make a sound. Poor kid, he must be so scared that he couldn't even speak. Ina tried to reassure him. "It's okay, honey, don't be afraid." She ruffled his hair. It felt a little awkward because the boy was taller than her, just by a little bit, it looks like from the picture, but Ina wouldn't let something so trivial stop her. "Tell Big Sis your name, okay?" The boy still seemed hesitant, but after a moment finally decided to answer. "Joff Godwin." She got his name, 1 point for Ina. I guess she doesn't know who he is. "That's a good boy. Now, Joff, sweetie, while we wait for an alienist, let's play together, okay?" Little Joff stammered. "It's okay, sweetie. No need to be afraid." This is more awkward than the romance scene in Selenon Riser. "Tell Big Sis what you'd like to play." "I'm going outside," Joff declared, walking towards the front door. But he could also just explain himself too. This is like a total breakdown in communication. Like, why don't one of you really just explain what's going on? "Well, wait, where are you going?" "Restroom," the boy answered without looking at her. Why is the bathroom outside? Yeah. "Oh," Ina chuckled. "It's okay. You didn't have to be embarrassed about that. The restroom isn't that way. Come, Big Sis will take you." "No." Oh, have you learned to go pee-pee by yourself? Ina, what? Had he? Ina still wasn't sure about Joff's actual mental age. I guess I could help you with, No need! Little Joff fled the house before Ina could finish speaking. He can walk really fast. Come to think of it, how did he get here? Who opened the gate for him? Wow, okay. Hopefully Ina doesn't follow us out because that was very awkward. Aiden Wolf and Professor Poe had walked around the madhouse and arrived at something that looks like a construction site a short distance from the back of the house. Aiden was just about to comment on it when the professor pointed at a group of children and said, "Hey, what are those kids doing?" Oh, I see. So yeah, this was happening while the other part was happening. Quite interesting. The girl on the ground grimaced as she slowly rubbed her chest. Surrounding her were 5 boys, and Aiden could clearly tell that one of them had just cast a spell. Earth magic, to be exact. He felt a shiver crawl up his spine. His heart might have skipped a beat during all of that, but not the kind that teenage boys experience when seeing pretty girls. The girl muttered something under her breath, but Aiden couldn't make out what she said. A boy who seemed to be the leader of the group snarled at her. Did you say something? The girl didn't answer, but instead glared at the boy who cast the spell. The boy obviously didn't like that glare. What are you looking at? A weakling with no magic like you should learn to show some respect. The girl got up. She took a fighting stance that Aiden had never seen before. Try that again, she said. Huh? I said, try that again. Ooh, that was kind of magical sounding. Huh, as you wish. Aiden sensed a surge in the boy's magic power. The girl seemed just as ready to fight, but something was wrong. He couldn't feel any magic from the girl. Uh-oh, that's not good. The boy unleashed his magic. Aiden's heart skipped another beat when he saw a lump of stone materialize above the girl. His head throbbed. He couldn't bear to watch. Then he heard a small thud from the rock hitting the ground. The girl was standing where the boy had been, her hands now holding onto one of the boy's wrists. Ah, okay, so she can fight normally without magic. Makes sense. She had managed to get the boy off his feet and into the air, forcing him to somersault in the air before slamming him face first into the ground with a loud crash and an even louder scream. I'm not gonna scream. Oh, it wasn't, I forgot what the guy's name is, but it wasn't him, it was this other guy. What was that? Aiden thought out loud. Was it wind magic? How else could the girl send the boy flying through the air like that? But he hadn't sensed wind magic or anything from that matter, or for that matter, from the girl. The leader boy's face contorted with a mix of both disbelief, fear, and fury. What the hell was that? I thought you couldn't use magic. I can't, the girl said calmly. Like, was that magic? She just went up to him and threw him. Damn it, you won't get away with this. Or maybe it is magic. Maybe we just missed that part. The boy readied his own magic. He thrust his right hand forward, and Aiden could sense water magic well before the spell was cast. But the girl closed in, moved sideways, rotated her body, and... yeah, so basically she just dodged, is what happened. And that's so incredible, apparently. Wow, we made it to chapter 3 already? That's amazing, Mom. But yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Short episode, I guess.